was just talking to my brother-in-law about this part
Yeah.
that when 4 or 5 years ago we used to commute an hour to the office and back, and now like why don't you just spend this 2 hours a day? Or in New York, I met people that you will take the subway and other like buses for like 2.5 hours. So definitely, why would you go to the office to lose 2, 3, 4, 5 hours a day when you can do it from home? And it's kind of bringing an interesting topic that Natish you mentioned. You can lose money, you cannot lose time, or you shouldn't lose time.
Right.
How do you balance work and life? So work-life balance. Many people that start their own company says bye-bye to your personal life. You need to understand the next 3, 4, 5, 6 years, you're not gonna be visiting all the soccer or dance places for your kids. And you guys are a bit more mature than me. And I want to understand what do you advise, what you guys did. I know literally we just spoke before the recording. I need
Yeah.
to make a choice if I'm going dinner or going with my son mountain biking, for example. So who wants to do first?
You know what? It's a very valid question, and the reason I'm jumping here is I always try to talk to people like Emmett, who have achieved so much in life. He's a visionary, he's an inventor, he's an entrepreneur, he's a father, and he's a grandfather, he's a husband. When you put all of this, I'm like, how and what is real? Because it is not about saying whatever the books want you to hear, but I really want to understand what is it real? Because we've spoken about this
Yeah, yeah,
before.
yeah.
We sometimes don't sleep for 2 days,
Yeah.
right? If there's an idea in the mind, I can stay awake 2 days and I'm just working on something,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? And there's a conflict in the house.
It's look, it depends on what stage you're in, how you manage it. If you're a parent or you're serving in a parenting role, you got to make sure. I'm selfish. I want to imprint my children. I want them to have some of me in how they see the world and how they think. Some of me, not all of me, which means that the only way I can imprint them is that they have to be part of how I organize my life. I've got to have some time for them. When I was young and they were in young sports, I tried to make sure I would organize myself in a way that I could be at that sport, to see some of that sport, so that we could talk about that. That's a conversation piece, right? Before they were doing sports, I used to read to the kids at night. Tell you the truth, I'd be falling asleep myself reading these books to them because I was so tired. But that's the investment you make, right? You gotta, and I don't want to be too long, I know, but when you got little kids, you got to invest you in them so that when they grow up, you got something positive to agree or disagree on.
So I put a bit of spice here right now, okay? And I'll try to kind of see what you can get with this. So you mentioned, Natish, you guys mentioned working with India. So India is what, 9 hours in front of us?
10 and a half, yeah.
So basically, let's think about this. You want something from your engineer in India. You tell them right now. Your engineer in India want to make sure he supports Natish. So he need to make a choice. Or he going to read the book to his son, or to his daughter, or he's supporting Natish. What's he do? As an example.
Yeah.
Or Emmett, for example, you say you want to attend a soccer play for your son, for your daughter, but at the same time, you need to jump on a call with an investor and potentially raise money. Now, by invest the time with the investor or closing a very big deal for your company, you're providing a better future for your kids. We can say this. Or you can go and spend time at a soccer practice. They may remember or not remember. How do you decide this part? Because I have a feeling this is the majority of the struggle entrepreneurs having. How does it better invest?
So if that's a struggle, okay. Relationships are like a bank account. You invest, you put your money in the bank account, and it grows, and it grows. Some days you got to withdraw from that account. In your relationships with your kids, your family, whatever, you will invest. There are going to be critical moments when you've got to pull something out of that account. There are going to be critical moments, if it's not a championship or this or that, you can say, I can't, son, I won't be there. This is what I'm doing. And with my boys, I talk in business terms with them very specifically about certain things. And I saw how it affected because I want them to think of business, by the way, as a happy place, not a negative place. So I think it's a matter of have you invested? You know, it's not
So you
at
mean like
all.
a balance?
So you have the investing gives you the opportunity to have the balance. Gives you the opportunity to say, I can't make this because, right?
So if you're missing a soccer game, you explain to a kid why, and then you find a different time to do something else with your kids because you missed a game, for
Yeah,
example?
well, a little different than that, but in that path, I would say, invest before you can't attend the thing. Because it's like a bank account, you're gonna invest. If you've never done any investing in your kids, to put time in, if you haven't sacrificed something to be with them, and something big comes up and they've got something big, you don't have an account to draw on.
So my kids are relatively young right now, like 10 and twins are 7. They all ask me, Dad, where are you going to the conference? Can we come with you? And I say no. But I don't know how to explain to them why they cannot come to the conference with me. Like literally, I don't know what to say. Do you guys think there's going to be time
I
when
think
we can
you can
bring...
take your kids to some
So
conferences.
do you think we're going to be time we can bring kids to the conference
To
and there's
some
going to be like a
conferences, yeah.
play date for the kids and everybody will be happy?
Well, you know, look, I took my kids to meetings.
Okay.
I taught at university, and when my oldest was like 4 or 5 years old, he was I took him evening class. I taught sometimes. I'd take him to the class, and he'd sit there and listen.
It's an interesting approach.
Yeah.
Just an example of today,
Yeah.
when you and I were working on something, and I sent a message to VD in India, and I said, "Can you do this for me?" It's I'm going to say that what he said is absolute. It's investing versus removing.
Yeah.
So I've invested the time, and he's invested the time in each of our relationship to say that this is what is the expectation. So when I sent the message, he basically sent me a reply. Having dinner with my parents right now, but I will get to it in 25 to 30 minutes. You know what? That's a beautiful example of how
Yeah.
relationship works.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm not going to push him for the 25, 30 minutes.
And oh, by the way, you're gonna go to bed now because while he's working.
No, and 25, 30 minutes
Yeah,
later,
yeah.
he did it.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? So, but the expectation here, he knows, is I just need a reply that he's got my message so that I'm not left in a limbo. And
Yeah.
I think it also comes to us is knowing the fact that, hey, it is night over there. They must be doing something. What is my expectation out of that?
Yeah.
I really don't expect him to respond. You know what I mean? So those things are very important. And if we approach it in a very logical way,
It's become part
yeah.
of a culture.
exactly.
Yeah, exactly. And now we've just talked about the first phase, right? We're talking about when you're dealing with youth, young people. And you'll find out that your kids will get to an age where, they got plenty to do. They don't, Dad, I got this, I'm scheduled to do this. You're gonna want them to give you time because they've got so much to do.
I'm going to kind of switch to fun topic. We were talking with my friends and about conferences. And there was actually a topic that brought on LinkedIn recently. What are the best swag giveaways from conferences, from companies? Because we find people spend money printing T-shirts, doing cups. People buy them, then throw them away. So, like what? And I kind of realized when I go to conference, I always try to find stuff for my kids because I can kind of put the money back to the account. So what do you guys think? Should vendors create swag that's going to be intending not for the people that are coming, but for the people that kind of they left back at home?
I never thought of that, but that's a brilliant idea. And particularly if you tie some meaning into it, if you can tie some, I never thought of that. That's very intriguing.
I think it's a brilliant idea.
Yeah.
In fact, they can have something,
Yeah.
if you have kids, we have something for the kids.
Got some
If
swag.
you don't have kids, then
Yeah.
you take swags for yourself.
Yeah.
Right? Like-
Because with all due respect, if you've been 20 years in the industry, how many T-shirts you have?
Yeah.
Probably tons
How many
of T-shirts.
cups do you have, right? Come on, please.
Or pens.
Yeah. So I end up giving cups to Goodwill like every other year or so because what am I gonna do with these cups? Yeah.
Okay.
Even my own company cups, I've got to get rid of. I got so many.
There are a lot of...
But now let's get to another matter because this is important. That's spousal,
Okay.
married or unmarried relationships. I tell entrepreneurs all the time, look, you want to be an entrepreneur and you have a partner, you need to upfront talk to her not about the results that you might get, but the process of being an entrepreneur, what that really means. Because there are going to be some hard times. There are going to be times when the bank account is really thin. You know, it's just the nature. If you're going to be pushing it, you're going to get some. And to see if that person is with you in doing this. I've seen relationships that have suffered because the response is, well, I never knew that you were going to be working 7 days a week, or I didn't really know that. Part of my habit historically has been I try to keep a notepad by the bed. So I wake up in the middle of the night, I make notes to myself, right? Because otherwise I forget. So you have to be concerned not just for yourself, but for the person who's engaging with you in this life of entrepreneurship, because it becomes a family matter. It's not just you as the individual. So I make notes. So I need a person who can sleep while I'm waking up making notes. Because if they wake up every time I wake up, they're going to be exhausted the next day. So that's one. Two, 3 or 4 hours a night is about all I get. It's only on vacation that I sleep longer. You know, I got a 2 o'clock in the morning from the East Coast in the U.S., I'm calling Israel for a meeting. I might be calling someone in China. Less China now than it used to be. But it's that spread of how, as you develop your business, how it becomes not just your neighborhood, your country, but it becomes a global kind of enterprise. And if you're leading, then you've got to be available to communicate with people all the time, it seems. And so how do you manage that? How do you manage a vacation or a holiday? Is it a holiday for the other person if every time you turn around you're on the cell phone? Probably not so much.
This is exactly why I say you need to listen to people who are experienced, because had I heard this advice about telling your partner, you know, what to expect, but frankly, it was difficult for me also as an entrepreneur. I didn't know what to expect myself. But even today, I think the biggest challenge that I have is when she turns around to me and said, had you told me that this is what it's going to be, I would probably have said no. You know what I mean? Like, and I think that's great advice, at least for entrepreneurs now, that remember, it's not easy. Excuse me. It's not easy being an entrepreneur. It's just like another baby of yours. You want to give it everything you can.
Every chance to be successful. Yeah, everything. I have, I'm in the midst at the moment of working with a group on doing a film. The film is called First to Orion. And this couple who, she's a software engineer, extraordinary, and he's a systems engineer and salesperson. And he's tired of being controlled by other managers who don't really understand But she's brilliant and everyone loves her. And how he announces to her one day, I think we should start our own company. And how polite she was with that. And I said to him the first time, I said, I bet after you told her that and she was so calm about it, and you had dinner and all, I bet she called one of her girlfriends, didn't she? He said, how did you know? Because she had to have a conversation that was open and plain and clear. And it became a challenge. But over time, they worked it out. You got to give people some freedom to participate in how they want to participate. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But it's better to do that on the front end than to spend 5 years struggling only to find out that someone's been unhappy for 5 years because you didn't tell me what it was going to be like.
Yeah, we're not going to turn the chat about front end, back end, and as a service, okay? Because it's going to be a different conversation.